Hang in there. It is.
Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. I'm Charlie Hume. He's Smylie Kaufman. If you're listening on a podcast right now and you hear David Attenborough's voice narrating Blue Planet, or if you're watching on YouTube and you see my almost 2-year-old son sitting in my lap, that is because I'm on solo dad duty today. Happy to do it. Mom was at work, so we're making it. We're doing our best here. Got the little guy in his little FedEx St. Jude Championship T-shirt, so we're golf themed here. But Smylie, I'm so pumped for this episode because we have two very different guests, but two extremely entertaining guests. Having listened to both these interviews now, we have on Patton Kizzire, your most recent winner on tour, just won the Pro Court Championship, and a good buddy of yours, growing up through the years. We had a great picture on last week's episode of the height disparity when you two were both playing junior golf. That was a cool one. And then Golden Tate, we promised this one on the pod. We teased it a little bit. You all played pickleball down in Nashville at Troubadour. The two of you, Scottie Scheffler and Sam Burns. He's got a ton of great stories there. He's got a ton of great NFL and college football stories that are incredible. So Smylie, I just wanted to hear what are some of the highlights you want to tease from both Patton and Golden coming up here?
Yeah, definitely. And first off, hello, Walker. More importantly, saying hello to my boy first, and then hello, Charlie. Yes, great episode here for you guys today. Patton is obviously a friend of mine. If you listen to our episode on Monday, you'll know that I cheer for him. He's a guy that I love to compete against. I hated losing to him probably more than anybody, but he made me better. And I think it comes out in this interview just how his competitive spirit is and how he's able to get it done, because it's not easy once you hear about some of the situations that he's been in, doing Monday qualifiers, Q school, and a long history really of taking a while to get to the PGA Tour. So a lot of patience it took for Patton Kizzire to get to the tour. It definitely took a lot of patience this past year playing in that category. And he definitely showed a lot of patience on Sunday to get the win. So that was a really fun conversation. Some really great stories that came out as well with Q school, as well as some mini tour stories. So you're going to love that with Patton. And then Golden Tate, right? Him and I think it's pretty obvious once you listen to the interview with Golden that him and I get along very well. He's a guy that if I had a first pick of any draft, Golden Tate is going to be my first pick no matter what we're doing. Whether it's golf, whether it's beer pong, whether it's pickleball, it does not matter. Give me Golden Tate on my team. He's also, this might as well just be the competitive spirit pod today, because these two, if you would have put Patton and Golden in a ring and just let these two guys go at it, I'm telling you, they love to compete. And I think you'll see that in this episode, just like Walker does, as you hear a lion roar. That's my boy. So if you're driving down the interstate right now, if you're driving down the interstate right now and you're wondering if there was a lion or a monkey in the back of your car, it's not. That was us. That was my boy Walker. Just saying, what are we watching right now? What is this?
We're watching Blue Planet. This is we can take a second here before we set up these interviews to just talk about screen time for kids, right? It's a never-ending sort of
debate in our house. It's definitely a debate in our house.
It definitely helps. You can't. Anyone who says you go without screen time, congrats to you. You have I know that it's an advertisement right now, and then we can see the sharks. The sharks will come back in a second. So the screen time thing is we've done some Disney movies, and that helps from time to time. But this is really, I feel a lot better about putting on. Blue Planet is his new jam. I know sharks. He loves the sharks. We love all the underwater creatures.
We're big Obby fans in our house. Unfortunately, we won't have to watch Obby all day. So,
Obby. I'd recommend trying out Planet Earth. You get some of the land creatures as well there. But it feels like it's educational. We sit down, we have conversations about what we're watching. We talk about sharks. So that's what we're watching right now. A little Blue Planet 2, which is, if you're a parent out there, you're feeling a little guilty on the Disney movies, give it a shot. Try that. Planet Earth. You never know how engaged your child may or may not get. So
I can't wait to have like a screen time expert on our pod, and we ask him about the benefits and maybe some of the things that aren't great for kids on that, and be like, okay, cool, buddy. See ya. Good talking to you.
Like, all right, now we're
that was talking to the screen time expert.
And now we're going to have on a working couple that doesn't have as much childcare as they like to, and they got 3 kids running around at home. They're going to tell us how every once in a while you got to give your kid an iPad. That's great. That's great. Well, hey, here we go. We cover it all. Little dad pod action, little football action, little golf action. I love the comparison you drew there between Patton and Golden, because it really is like Patton's like the Sea Island money game guy, and Golden's like the psycho competitor. Yes. And you're going to hear more about another psycho competitor here, Scottie Scheffler. The pickleball stories there were phenomenal. So we're not going to delay you anymore. We appreciate you being patient with us and my son here as we get this thing teed up. But right now we're going to get to your most recent winner on the PGA Tour, Patton Kizzire, and then stay tuned after that quick little break. We'll get to Golden Tate on a number of things, including Scottie Scheffler on the pickleball courts. Let's get right to it.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Smylie Show. We got a champion amongst us here today. We got Patton Kizzire joining us. Just won out in Napa at the Pro Court Championship. Patton, man, give me what the last 48 hours has been like. I'm sure you're just on cloud 9 right now. Yeah,
cloud 9 is right. It's been a whirlwind. It was a quick turnaround. Finished the tournament, did a bunch of ceremony stuff, shook some hands and kissed some babies, and all of a sudden I got to go to sleep because I got to wake up at 4 a.m. to catch a flight. And, we land at the airport back in Jacksonville. My truck won't start. I oversleep this morning. I got to get my kid to school, my kids to school, and it's, back to reality.
Well, thank you.
Been awesome.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know how busy you guys are after they win golf tournaments, and I just couldn't be more excited and happy for you. We talked about this on our Monday episode, how resilient you are as a golfer, how hard you work at it. And there was a couple of memories of mine that have come up. First off, like, how about that wild year when we were in Napa, when we had those wildfires? Do you remember? Because you guys were in the house. So like you've obviously had 2 different experiences in Napa. And by the way, is there a better place to win on the PGA Tour than Napa, right? Get to sip on some good wine.
You're guaranteed to receive a nice bottle of wine. Alpha Omega, I mean, they were quick to hand me a Magnum, ready to roll. But, yeah, I've got a lot of memories in Napa. 2017 was something I never felt that before, where I really feared for my life. The wildfire was coming, and we had to get out of there. So that was something that I've never experienced. Didn't really ever think about wildfires. We live in Alabama. It rains all the time. It's humid.
We got tornadoes. We got to worry about tornadoes and hurricanes, and maybe some golf ball size hail. We ain't worried about wildfires.
No, not at all. Controlled burns help with that too.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, that was an interesting experience. I missed that tournament my first year as a pro. Because Carrie and I were getting married. We based our wedding on the previous year's schedule, and that was a week off. So
and then you and I the next week battled in Vegas. So Emiliano won, and then you and I the next week.
Yeah, my first tournament. Go to Vegas, and sure enough, you just blitzed it on Sunday, and
we both did. You played good too. You shot like 63 on Sunday.
I did. Did you have 61?
Yeah, 61. Humble brag.
Yeah, you can do it, man.
Man, oh man. Well, when you win on the PGA Tour, I'm always interested to talk to guys right after they win, because I want to know, like, heading into the week, were the vibes there? Like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, did you hit shots in the practice round? Were your sessions on the golf course coming into the week? Did you feel really confident heading into the golf tournament?
I did feel confident. My physical game was decent. It's been decent for a long time. I felt like I was more disciplined and my routines were better. Mentally, I felt good. I've picked up some really good habits, and I've been working with a mindset coach, and I've been really consistent in my preparation. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it for the week and see what happens. And I followed her lead, and it takes a lot of discipline inside your dome to keep yourself straight. And I did it, and it was very rewarding.
You know exactly how it is when you're a PGA Tour pro and you have a big lead heading into Sunday. How difficult was it for you? Once you signed your scorecard on Saturday till when you teed it up on Sunday, how were you able to manage those emotions? Because I know it couldn't have been easy.
No, it wasn't easy. I was laying in bed just trying not to think about the Masters exemption and the 2-year tour exemption and all the different things that come with it. But I just kept going back to a little quote, I'm here, I'm now, just trying to be present, letting those thoughts just run right by, and gathering myself. But, I knew once I got out there that all those thoughts would kind of take care of themselves. I knew that throughout the tournament, it's going to be hard not to think about, how many am I ahead. But I was reminded that the tournament record was 21 under, and that was kind of a mark that I thought would be unbeatable, considering the conditions were going to be harder on Sunday. And it was windy and the greens were firm. I figured it was going to be really hard for somebody to go really low, and it was a great Sunday. I had a bunch of fun battling out there, and was glad to come out on top.
You almost want, when you have a big lead, you want the conditions to be tougher, because it takes your mind off of trying to make birdies and watching the leaderboards, and it just makes you focus on the shot in front of you.
Yeah, I've been preparing back home in St. Simons, Sea Island area, playing these golf courses, Sea Island and Ocean Forest, in 25, 30 mile an hour wind with my buddies that I prepare with all the time. And I wanted that wind to come up because I knew it was going to be harder to go low. If I stayed disciplined, I could just hit the middle of the green, make some pars, pick off some birdies here and there, and it would be hard for somebody to catch me. But, man, preparing here in Sea Island was certainly beneficial.
Absolutely. And I know you don't ever like to lose any action on the golf course, especially to your Sea Island buddies. I've been a part of those games, and I've definitely handed over a couple bills to you before after those rounds as well. You seem to be the guy that's the collector and not the guy that pays out, especially for any new guys that are coming to Sea Island, Patton. It's like a rite of passage. It's like, come on, Patton's like, come on. Get you here in this group.
Make sure cost you a little bit.
It's going to cost you a little bit. That's right.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple guys that have taken their licks out there in those games.
I figured out pretty early on in life it's a lot more fun when you win. So I try to do that as much as I can. Yeah, the guys, we've got such a great group of guys that like to get after it. We like to gamble and compete, and that's what makes you better, is competing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I did a lot of heading into the week. I had 3 or 4 weeks off because I missed the playoffs, and I was encouraged by my team to go play, go compete, get out there, just get back after it. Me standing on the range making golf swings, I figured out a long time ago that doesn't help. As much as I've tried to make that my game, that's not me. I like to get out there and compete, and I want somebody pissed off. I mean, hopefully not me, but that's fine. Sometimes I get beat, but I want some emotion and some competition out there, and I'm lucky to have that with me, with all my friends.
And you kind of just said it there. You didn't make the playoffs this year, didn't make it last year. You're playing in that 126 to 150 category, which for anybody that's been on tour, that comes with a lot of doubt. right? Like you just don't know what events you're going to get into, especially with how much the eligibility has changed for who's getting into events. In some years that 126 to 150 category can play a whole lot of times. This year, there's a trickle down effect. It seems like more guys are playing in the open events. So it leaves you with more doubt on what your playing schedule would be. How difficult was that this year?
Yeah, that's been tough. I picked a really bad time to slip out of the top 125. I've been very fortunate to receive a couple of sponsors invites. I did a bunch of Monday qualifiers. I think I only successful one time. I was really fortunate to get a sponsored invite into the Sony, and because I won there in 2018. That was huge to get a sponsor's invite there, and then had a good week, finished 13th and moved up in my category. So that helped. But yeah,
the next 6 weeks though, Pat, and you missed 6 cuts. And so I mean, I just can't imagine how difficult this year really was.
Yeah. It's been really tough. There's been a lot of downs, a few ups. I seem to have played well in some opposite field events, which are great. I love some of those opposite field events. Those are some of my favorite tournaments, but you don't get near as many points. And this has been a tough year. There's not quite as many opportunities for those conditional guys, and I'm glad to be out of that category now.
All right, we got to get this conversation into Q school. Like, Patton, if anybody that knows you, that knows your story, it took you a long time to get to the tour. It took you 7 years of playing mini tour golf. It took you about 8 Q school tries. And maybe I was the lucky charm because you and I played together that final round of Q school where you got through. We both were rookies at the same time on the Corn Ferry Tour. But this year, right? So you go back, you're in that 126 to 150 category. Now the PGA Tour is offering spots via Q school. So you tried your hand at it again. I mean, just put into perspective for people what Q school is like, what the feelings are like. Obviously you have status now when you went to Q school, but for the years that you didn't have status and you're playing for a job, how hard was it? Was yesterday Sunday at the Pro Tour Championship, was that easier than any of the Q schools attempts that you've had over the years?
It really was. I mean, when you're winning a golf tournament or in contention, you're doing well, and you seem to know that the outcome will be fine. But Q school is a different animal. I mean, you're playing for your job. And it's one small series of events, and you literally have to play well for the entire series. Back when we did it, we didn't really have the PGA Tour Canada or Latin America or PGA Americas or PGA Tour U, or we didn't have any of that. So we played mini tours all year, and when we say mini tours, Smylie and I played some mini tours that may or may not pay out.
Yeah, we need to get into that real quick. So you and I played on the Hopkins tour. This was right before. I think we actually had just gone to Q school. I think it was around that time. All you need to know is that you and I were on this great battle with the Hopkins tour. But the week prior to that, right, Patton, like we started like wondering, like, are we going to get paid? And then we go play this event, right?
Yeah, I mean, things seem too good to be true. When they're too good to be true, sometimes when you're talking about mini tours, you're probably right. Yeah, it was great. I raked it in for a while. I might have broken them, but you won a tournament kind of late in that season, leading into Q school.
That's right.
I think you won like $16,000 in one event, which I don't know how they were offering $16,000.
That was the big one, man.
Yeah, you won the like a Hopkins Tour major. It was like $16,000.
Is that what it was? It was amazing.
I guess we'll call it a Hopkins Tour major. You won $16,000, which was a lot of cash for us those days, and that seemed too good to be true. And I played well. I might have finished top 3 or 2 second or whatever, and ends up Yeah, they decided to, or they were not able to pay out, and that was quite unfortunate for us.
I remember getting that letter, and then the email saying that, hey, we're not paying this thing out, and because you, Pat, had won a bunch of money that year. I don't know how much they had paid you to that point, but they were supposed to give you your Q school entry as well as paying you out probably another probably close to $15,000 from some other events.
Yeah, I earned a BMW exemption, like Q school paid for. It accumulated up to somewhere around like 15,000-20,000 is what it was basically worth. And yeah, we got a letter that said that wasn't coming. Didn't surprise me. It pissed me off, but it didn't really surprise me.
I had no clue. It was my first year as mini tours. I'm like, what do you mean you're not paying? I'm $1,500 in the hole this week just being here.
Yeah, that feels illegal.
Yeah, it was a bit illegal. So at Hopkins Tour, you can go suck it. I remember the first time I saw VJ on tour, he's wearing this Hopkins hat. I was like, hey VJ, like, I hate you, man. Like, you don't know why, but like you took Patton and I's money.
Yeah, you felt like he owed you the money. Didn't you?
Yeah, give me some of that money.
He wasn't
VJ.
getting paid either.
He probably wasn't getting paid either. That's a good point.
You don't see many Hopkins hats out there anymore.
No, you definitely do not. But man, I just one last question on Q School. Do you have any horror stories or any stories that come to mind that just is like a classic Q School story where it just kind of encompasses exactly what Q School is and how difficult it can be?
Well, yeah. I mean, the year that we played together that I got through, I remember my friend Joe Etter, who caddied for me for a long time, caddies for Davis Thompson.
Yep.
A great guy, lives in St. Simons. But anyway, he's caddying for me for the first time ever in the final stage of Q School. And I'm on the other course, like the PGA National, not the tournament course.
Oh, this is final stage. Final stage, okay.
Final stage. And, I mean, I'm standing over this first tee shot, and, I mean, my club and my hands are just visibly just doing this number. And I hit this, like, low snap hook into the water. And I looked at Joe. I said, well, that wasn't ideal. And he just started laughing. And he said, I knew when you said, well, that wasn't ideal, that we were going to be fine. But, man, I got over that second shot. And, for the first 2 or 3 holes, it looked like I was having a breakdown. I was jiggling all over the place, and it brings out a lot of emotions in you. And I was battling hard.
Golly, I've watched some train wrecks. I actually remember at Q School the second stage, which getting through second stage is more important than making it through final, because when you get to final, you get conditional status. But second stage, if you don't leave that place, you got nothing. And so I was watching you, and you're playing chili chunks right at the 11th green, and I'm thinking to myself, shoot, man, this is my first Q School. Like, I'm cruising, and like you're cruising, and then all of a sudden you weren't cruising. And I was like, oh my God, are we about to blow up here? Because all I had heard over the years is that Patton's got a temper, and I was like, is this temper about to make him lose making it to final stage? And then he just took one of those big old deep breaths, and then he chipped it up there like to 4 feet. I think he walked away with a 5 or 6, and I was like, okay, he's fine.
Okay.
He's fine.
Was this at Southern Hills? Or?
Oh yeah, Southern Hills, ride of 11.
Oh yeah, I did the Valspar qualifier this year there, and I do remember that hole. I was a little distracted. There's a turkey on that hole that had a big old long beard, and I'm glad that my mind didn't go back to those memories. But once you say that, I do remember having a little trouble. Pretty grainy down there in Florida.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, Patton, what does the rest of the fall look like to you now? I mean, you got new goals, right? So you've made it to 70th in the FedEx Cup. So you're trying to imagine chase down that 51 to 60 category to get yourself in that next 10. So we know we'll see you at the Century, but we hope that I imagine that we'll see you at Pebble Beach as well, right?
Yeah, I don't know how all that works. I hadn't even figured all.
I'm a TV guy. Do you want me to explain it to
you? Well, I will correct you. I don't have new goals. My goal is to finish 51st on the year-end list. So
let's go.
This was just a big step towards that goal. But I do not know what I've been so focused on just doing me that I don't even know what this, what all this does.
Taking money from his friends, watching Hank Brown throw touchdowns, making sure he hits on Falcons money line last night. You're dialed in.
That would have been nice. I played the under last night, which was good. It was good to see some stops.
Well, you got any plays for us on the way out here? Do you got anything for this week that's catching your eye?
So my caddy is Dean. He runs the Dynamite Show on Instagram, and he picked me to pick the 5 games first week of college football, and I went goose egg, 0 for 5. The thing is,
that doesn't sound like Patton.
Well, this sounds like me. I bet the opposite on 4 of them, so I ended up winning 4 of them.
Okay,
Florida State. I feel like Florida State owes me money. The Hopkins tour, I think Florida State owes me money.
That's a good point. That's well said.
They've been getting me.
That's well said.
Good,
well,
no, I'll be checking the board. I hadn't had time. I'm looking forward to.
Well, if you get a hot play, man, send us your picks. I know we'd love to showcase them on the show as somebody that I know is keeping up with some statistics here and there when it comes to football games and what we're watching on the television. So, Patton, dude, this has been great. Francie and I are so excited for you, Carrie, and yourself and your family, man. I know how hard you work at it. I know how hard this game can be, the ups and downs, and to see you, triumph through it all, man. It's just so cool to see.
Well, I appreciate it. Y'all have been great friends for a long time, and I'm excited for your success too. You've been doing great. You could switch gears and just take off running, and it's really cool to see.
Thank you, PK. Well, next time we'll play, I'll take my shot on the front 9. I'll take my half shot on 9, and then we'll just on the back. That sounds all right. All right, PK. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Smylie Show. Got a sweet guest today here, Golden Tate, joining us either from his house or Foot Locker. Not really sure. We got all the shoes behind him. I mean, where are we at right now, GT?
We're in my shoe closet right now that my wife she kicked me out of her closet or our closet and, built me a shoe closet upstairs in pretty much the attic. And so that's where I'm hanging out, where it's quiet.
Good man. Good man. Well, we just had a great time in Nashville this past weekend for the Justin Thomas Foundation. We'll get into maybe some of the stories that we experienced over the fun couple of days that we did have. And you all guys know that Golden Tate's a legend, played football at Notre Dame, won a Super Bowl at the Seattle Seahawks, went to Detroit, absolutely crushed it there, and a couple other years in the league as well. And I'm sitting here before this interview, Golden, and I was sitting here looking at, these were the best places to draft these guys in fantasy football. And I started thinking to myself, well, now that you're out of the league and a normal guy, just like me, are you a fantasy guy or no?
I was actually more of a fantasy guy when I played. I remember one year I was on, I think, 4 or 5 different fantasy league teams in one separate year. And it was not a benefit to have for me because I wasn't able, the 1 o'clock games, I'm getting ready to play. And I guess people are announcing right before the game that some guys are not playing. So I would find out after the game or halftime that I had someone on the plane that was actually not even dressing. So I kind of got screwed a few times, but I ended up winning a few leagues because of, just my expertise, if you will.
Mm-hmm. All right, so they don't care if you do fantasy football as a player? I know it's not a big deal, I guess, if they don't find out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you play it, but there was a threshold of how much it could be worth before it became illegal or you would get in trouble. But as long as you weren't stupid about it, you were pretty much good. I always played within the parameters for the most part, so I never had to worry about anything. But it was more fun and bragging right type of thing than anything.
I guess I never had thought about players actually playing fantasy because, when I would finish rounds up, Golden, on tour so often where there was the daily DraftKings fantasy lineup thing, and I'd shoot a 74 and I get these tweets like, dude, you suck. You should quit the game. I'm sure you got that all the time in fantasy. So I imagine as a player that it was a love-hate relationship with the fantasy stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I love fantasy football because it's teaching people the game to some extent. Like some people who don't care about football, but they're forced to learn it, and players because of, fantasy football. But at the same time, like you said, man, when I'd have a big game, I get so much love on like, hey, you helped me win my fantasy league championship or the game this week. But when you would not have statistically a good game, there was times where I had, 3 catches for 35 yards. Now, in real life, those were 3 first down catches in the fourth quarter to help us win the game. But in fantasy, it was dog water. And so people would get on my timeline. I mean, the fact that people were so angry that they would find me on social, they wouldn't even follow me. They'd find me on social media, have time to think about what they're going to say and send like a very nasty threat to me and then hit send. I was like, wow, like you care too much.
That's where we're at.
Fantasy football for a reason. And like, but I would also probably get a game ball that game because I had some key catches to help win. So it was like, man, screw you guys. So whenever I have statistically a good game, I'd be all over checking Twitter and receiving the love. And then when I didn't have a statistically good game for fantasy, I'd probably just stay off of it.
No, that's definitely the right move for sure, because it's a very toxic place when you start to look at your Twitter after a fantasy football game, imagine, as a player. But Golden, I was going back and just kind of looking at old highlights of yours, and the epic one that we have got to talk about is when you were playing for Notre Dame. When you catch that ball in the end zone against Michigan State and jump full freestyle starfish into the band. I mean, what's going through your brain? Like, because you didn't have a chance to slow down, and I imagine that was the issue. But you're like, you know what? Might as well just swan dive here into the band. I mean, what are your memories from that moment?
Yeah, I just remember it was a pretty tight game, and Jimmy Clausen throws me a beautiful like moonshot go ball. And my body clock is, going off like, man, I got to be pretty close to the end line of the end zone. But in college, you only need 1 foot down. So I catch the ball, get 1 foot down, and I have about probably 3 or 4 yards before like you got the entire Michigan State band sitting right there. And I remember seeing like, I don't remember what instrument she played. It might have been like a clarinet or a tuba or something. I don't know, whatever. But I remember seeing this little girl just like frightened, like she was like, "Oh crap!" And like fast thinking me, I just was like, okay, well, I guess it makes sense to land on top of many people versus to run this little girl over while I have these pads on. So I swan dive, jump up in the air. I'm looking down, and next thing you know, the Michigan State band go like out of the way, and I land on nothing but plastic chairs. Oh, okay.
That's what we didn't see. That's what we didn't see.
Yeah. I land on plastic chairs, but adrenaline's got me. I just scored a touchdown. I'm definitely hurting, but I played it off, and I crawl up out of there like, yep, nothing's wrong here. We just scored a touchdown. And it became a legendary moment, I guess, for the rest of Notre Dame, Michigan State history, rivalry, and it'll be shown for forever. And I love that people still ask me about it. And it's, it's an amazing part to be a part of, it's amazing to be a part of an historical school and have an historical moment too.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, it's one of the coolest highlights that you could ever watch. And for a guy that played in Notre Dame, Golden, you and I have played some golf together. I know how competitive you are, and I'm going to get to something with that competitive edge that you do have. But one quick golf question when it comes to Notre Dame. I've always seen on the field, and I've always heard that Notre Dame's field has a very long grass. And I always assumed it was for the game to be slower. But now, maybe you can answer that question, but also if you threw a golf ball down in this primary rough and you're hitting a 100-yard shot, are you catching a fly or is it coming out slow? Give me just your golf knowledge of what Notre Dame's field is like.
Okay. That's a great question. I've never had someone ask me that. But if I had to describe what I remember Notre Dame's
field,
we're
grass guys.
Exactly. I would describe it as being at Torrey Pines in that rough. for the farmers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Little kikuya grass.
Yeah, well, maybe different type of grass, but like the feel of like drop the ball's disappearing. Like it's going to be gnarly to get out of. Like in Notre Dame, really, I felt like they grew it longer. The faster the team, the longer the grass is going to be. So when we played SC at home, that grass is probably a little bit, a quarter to a half inch longer, which makes a difference on running. If you're a 4.2, 4.3 type of guy. So yeah, it was pretty gnarly. Since then they've became a lot cooler and moved over to turf and have night games and a jumbotron. And
it's turf now.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
man, that's on me for not being up to date on my Notre Dame turf field conditions.
Yeah. Part of me is like, man, good thing they went over to turf, but we know turf is just not good for knees at all.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing then, if you had a 100-yard shot, the ball would have gone 80 yards. You're not getting a jumper out of that stuff. So,
nah.
Okay, all right. So we're up to date on our turf conditions at Notre Dame, and I did mention the competitive edge side of you because I've seen this on the golf course. You and I put us as partners. We work really well together. We ham and egg really nicely. But The other part of your celebrations that we've got to get into is just when you had a touchdown and you got one, like how you entered the end zone every time, whether it was a flip, whether it was waiting on the dude. I just now that I know you, I just know that's who Golden Tate is. It's like, man, like you want to beat me, you want to say something. It's like, you gotta do a little better next time. That's kind of how you are on the golf course as well. I love to see it.
Yeah. So when playing football, I wasn't much of a guy who was going to do a lot of shit talking. Like I wasn't going to just go out there and talk crap to people. That's just not my style. People a lot of times would try to talk crap to me, but they learn the hard way that when you start talking crap to me, like I'm not going to say much, but that's going to I'm just going to play a little bit more. Or I'm going to do a little bit more. And it's not even that I do it on purpose. It's just like I hear what you're saying and like, okay, I got something for you. And eventually you get exposed. And as far as my celebrations, like jumping in the flip or flipping in the end zone, going in backwards, they were never really planned. It felt like it was appropriate for that catch right then and there. And like the more difficult the touchdown and the catch, the better the celebration was going to be typically. And, some touchdowns were just like super easy. Like I would make one guy miss and kind of walk in and, I would have something ready for like a nice little ball spin.
Let's go.
But nothing nothing incredible as far as like the celebration.
So next time we play golf together, Golden, on a second shot into a par 5, if you hit the green, I need you on top of the cart, flipping off. You hold a bunker shot, get to the front face of that bunker, do a little backflip into the bunk. Like I need to see a little bit of this action out on the golf course. I think you've been kind of holding back a little bit. Fair enough.
I'll get my pen and paper out. I'll start taking notes on different situations. Because I'll have to plan for, the golf celebration. That's a little bit different.
Yes.
And then I'll have something ready. I'll have something cooking. Right. Maybe we'll have like a nice little, if we're on the same team, we'll have a nice little handshake that's like boom, 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 something crazy that people are like, dang, okay, y'all did that.
Yep, that'll be us, and we will be on the same team because I think we've just won too much now to where you can't separate us two guys. We just know how to win. All right, so you win a Super Bowl at Seattle, Golden, and you go to the Lions, and that's where really I feel like your best statistics were in Detroit. And this was something I've always seen on the internet, and I just want you to kind of put this into perspective, is that Matthew Stafford is maybe one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time for what he is able to bring to that position. Can you just talk to that, being a wide receiver and a guy that caught balls for Matthew Stafford?
Yeah. Without Matthew Stafford, I'm not sure I would have been known as the Yak King. I mean, he was phenomenal. And, the good thing about being down a lot is that you knew you had to throw the ball a lot.
Good.
Now, obviously, bad thing you didn't win as much as we wanted to, but I knew that I was going to be fed. And Matthew Stafford's arm is just is so strong. Like he makes hard throws look easy. His arm strength is so strong that it doesn't look like he's trying to throw it hard. It's just kind of like, but then it's like, woof, it's right there on you. And anytime I came out my break, the ball was there. And so for a receiver, it's so important for me to get the ball as soon as I'm coming out my break, because that's less time for the DB to be crashing down on me. And like what made me so good is that when I would come out my break, my brain would take a picture of like where the defense was and where I thought the defense was going to be once I caught it, and based off what their technique and stuff. So I'd get the ball early and I'd have a time to get the ball, make a quick move, and then get upfield, and they'd only gained maybe a yard on me. And so that was so important for creating angles at the wide receiver position and getting yards after catch or yards after first touch that, man, Stafford made me the Yak King because he was so strong, so smart. Where he placed the ball was incredible. There was times where I felt like I was completely covered. I'm like, oh, I'm dead. I'm covered. And he would throw the ball like right here where the DB couldn't get over the top. And I would just fingertip catch it. DB slides off and I run for 30 yards. I said, man, that's what made him next level.
What were some of the attributes you picked up from Calvin Johnson in your time in Detroit?
Dude, you talk about someone who's special and makes the game look so incredibly easy. Calvin Johnson. And I'm not one to ever, when I played, I never thought there was anyone better than me in anything. I just felt like I could do everything. If I had the same passes, the same opportunity, I could be just as statistically successful as Antonio Brown during his heyday in Steelers. Now I went to Detroit and we heard about Calvin, Megatron. I'm like, all right, I'm fighting for the number one position. And then I quickly found out like that dude is just different. I mean, to be that lanky and also be that fast, but also be able to jump out of forward field and also have those long arms. He just had everything. And it really clicked on me during camp, where after a hard day at camp, we go out there and Calvin was like, hey, G, you want to run some gassers? A gasser is sideline to sideline, back to sideline. It's a half gasser, what we call it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And, he says, ready, go. And he starts going, and he just looks like he's just like like the slow motion Baywatch, like
yeah,
whatever you're calling, yeah, like. And then me on the other hand, look like you're fast forwarding me. I'm just like trying to keep up with him, and he's like trying to have conversations, like, "Yo, G, so what'd you think of practice today? Anything that you saw from me?" I'm like, bro, I'm trying to keep up with you. Let's talk about this after practice or after we get done running, and like that's when I realized, okay, he's just got a gift that I just don't have. And then the other time that I realized Calvin was just different was that we're running routes on the air before we get into the real deal of practice. Quarterback, we all run the same route, and we run a go route, which is get off the line scrimmage, run down the field as fast as you can. And Stafford chucks it 30, 40, 50 yards down the field, and Calvin just kind of like glides, and his long arms just go whoop. He's whoop, whoop. I'm like, all right, cool. I go next. Same exact ball, same quarterback, except for I'm like running my tail off. And when I get to the route or to the ball, I have to like stop and like full on like stretch out to catch it. And it's like, okay, that's what makes him him. He just does things that people just physically cannot do because he's so gifted. And that's when I realized, okay, Megatron's a beast.
Yeah. It's kind of like playing Scottie Scheffler in pickleball. It just feels like he's too gifted. You can't be this good at golf and be this good at another sport. And that's where I feel like we got to take this conversation, Golden, right? Oh, you boy. And I, we played on the golf course, but we had a great night in Nashville, and Golden, I think like you kind of planted this seed in us in that you're a big pickleball guy. You got your own paddle coming out soon. I know you love the sport. It's something that you play all the time. And you kind of were like, hey, let's play some pickleball. And then finally, like, you got four of us to go out there and play. It's me, you, Sam Burns, and Scottie Scheffler. Did you have any expectations of how good Scottie was going to be at pickleball?
I didn't. I'd seen him play in like celeb-ams, and I thought he had some game, but I didn't realize how good he was, and especially how good he was under the conditions that we were playing under.
It was a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Like, it's been a long day. We were out on the golf course, out watching Eric Church and Cole Swindell play music. So we were in a position, right? Like, we're not fully there, but
right. Yeah.
It was, I felt bad, right? Because like Sam and I y'all just kept hitting it at us, and rightfully so. Like, once you realize that how good Scottie was, you're like, all right, we just can't give away points. Like, SK, just get it over. Somehow just get it over.
Yeah. I mean, we played pickleball with golf cart lights, okay? Yeah. And pretty late, and thankful that no one got hurt, but like his reaction time and his footwork was good, and he had, as we would expect, he had really good hands and soft hands, and he was able to place the ball, and so it was really fun to play with him and all of you guys, and just kind of the camaraderie we built. And I mean, we created a memory that night.
We sure did.
I think we'll tell a lot of people, and it'd be fun to tell too. So, that was one of those things where I was excited for it to happen, and when it ended, I was like, bummer, because this was really cool.
It was a lot of fun, right? And after Sam and I finally bowed out, like I was like, you guys, y'all want to play a one-on-one? Like, you two play. Sam and I have had enough. Do you care to go through how difficult the one-on-one match was with Scottie? And do you remember I think it was 2 games. I don't remember what the scores were, but I do remember Scottie being victorious, which shocked me.
Yeah. He has a really good understanding for the game of pickleball, and it's kind of wild. Like, he was putting me in situations where I just couldn't create an edge. Like, athletically, I feel like going into the match, I was more athletic than him. But after he whooped up on me twice, I was like, okay, wow, this guy can play. I'd love to play him when we both are fresh and
you can get to every ball. I mean, you were still getting to every ball, but still, I mean, the positions that he was putting you in, he had you running around, man.
He had me out there just running sprints all over the court, and he just sitting at the middle of the court, just like angles, and I would get 1 or 2 of them, but then the third one, he would just like close it out because I was burnt out and tired. But would love to like get another game and figure out a way to get something going.
Yes. And Sam and I will watch. I think that'll be much better because Sam and I, we were, if handicap wise, we realized quickly that we were maybe like a 5 to 8 handicap, maybe not quite as good as we thought we were after playing with you two. And it was a lot of fun, GT. And the last question on the way out is about baseball. This is something that you were drafted out of high school. And I wanted to ask you about this because I can't imagine how difficult it was. You got drafted in 2007, you decided to go play college football, and then you have such a long career in the NFL through 2021. And then you said, you know what, I'm going to go try baseball again. What was that experience like? How difficult was it? And are you happy that you went and did it?
Well, I'll answer the last question first. Yes, I am very happy that I went and did it because I thought I was going to be playing baseball for the rest of my life. Like, I got drafted out of high school. Then I got drafted after my rookie season in Seattle, and I just decided to go play football. I just felt like, football's more my personality, more my style. I could have a greater effect on a football field than a baseball diamond. So suddenly I was like, okay, I'm playing football. And so the fact that I was, pretty much done with football, and my wife was willing enough to like let me go give it a shot. Not that she really wanted me to go do that, but I was thankful. I trained my tail off for a few months with Matt Noakes, who played catcher, who's Elisa's uncle, my wife's uncle, and grinded it out. And I did think there was something there. It's just, where I was in my life, like, did I really want to go pursue another professional sport while having 3 young babies after I'd had a spectacular career in one sport, one of the greatest sports in the world, and I was fortunate enough to make a bunch of money to support my family for the rest of our lives. It was like, what's more important at this point, to be a dad or be on the road for, months at a time in AA or AAA, grinding up, trying to get to the MLB at the age, I guess I'm 36 now, at the age of 33. Like, your window is very small. So it was fun and cool that I tried it. And I definitely felt like I could do it, but it's just maybe my next life.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It's almost like back to the mini tours too. Once you have that lifestyle that you've had being in the NFL and getting back on the buses and how difficult that can be, that is when you realize it's like, you know what? I had a dang good career, just like you said, in that baseball, in another life, right? And I actually would have loved to see what your baseball career would have been like for how fast you are, how good. Like, where do you think you would have finished up in MLB if that's the route you went?
I think I could have maybe found a way with like the proper coaching and grinding for like it take a while, because guys, it'd been years since I've hit a baseball, but like the strength, the fast twitch, the arm strength, like I was all there. The hand-eye coordination, the track balls, that was easy for me to do. But hitting is what separates guys.
Gotcha.
I was, in my mind, I thought I was going to be the next Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Realistically, probably not. Self-belief is something I've never struggled with.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I can do a lot of things, and some of it's just like, dude, you just don't have a clue. And so I like to think I could have done it, but realistically, probably not.
Well, I've seen you be able to accomplish so many things, whether it be football or on the pickleball court. And by the way, when and where is this pickleball paddle coming out, and how can we find this?
Yeah, if you just go on the Paddle Tech website, you can find mine, and I can also share a link with you to add to this. But yeah, I partner with Paddle Tech, which is the best brand of pickleball paddles out there, in my opinion, simply because the number one player in the world, Annalie Waters, plays with it, and she's won a bunch of tournaments and hands down number one player in the world. And so I want to partner with someone who's reputable, had good stuff. And so I partnered with Paddle Tech, and they allowed me to create my own paddle that we spent a lot of time on, which, I'm kind of like the first non-pickleball player to do something like this. And so I wanted to create something that was clean, crisp, something that people who are new to the game could play with, but also that the pros would be like, okay, it plays well, it looks clean, not goofy. And so I feel like I captured a whole lot in the design, and I'm super proud of it. And if you're looking to get into pickleball, I'd love it if you guys tried it out, gave it a shot. There's going to, 2 different paddles you can choose from. So yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it. For those that are looking for a new pickleball paddle or just trying to pick up the game and want to get started, check that out. We'll definitely be able to provide that for you with the link. And Golden, you're gonna have to send me some shoes, bro, because like now I've been staring at these shoes all day. Like I'm dying to get some of these Nikes you got behind you. I appreciate your time, G. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to seeing you soon on the course or on TV, I guess. I'll be seeing you, though.
Yes, sir. Golden Tate, everybody. Thanks, man.
Well, there you have it. Patton Kizzire, Golden Tate. Hope you enjoyed both those conversations for very different reasons, but just highly entertaining across the board. I mean, I think we talk a lot about the superstars in the sport of golf, but it's really cool to see a guy who, as we covered on our first show of the week on Monday, just listening to him into 2023 in a really emotional place, and then he just keeps grinding, gets a win, and has, he's in a much better place for his status going into 2025. So huge props to Patton. And then Golden Tate, man. I mean, I was sitting there, we were joking about this after the interview. I was sitting there and texting Jackson about all the clips we want to do. That's a clip. That's a clip. That's a clip. Every one of those stories was just phenomenal.
It sure was. And the one thing that I forgot to ask Patton about, and he mentioned it in the interview, was qualifying for the Masters. I didn't know if the FedEx Cup fall events qualified you for the Masters. And that might be a debate we have later is that should it?
For Patton's sake, I love it.
Absolutely. But it's funny. I was picking a hat this morning, trying to figure out what I wanted to wear for the interview because it's the morning. Didn't quite get the shower going to get the hair right. So threw a hat on, and there was a Masters hat that I was thinking about wearing. I was like, I don't think he got into the Masters, so I'm not going to wear the hat. But if I knew he did, then I would have worn the hat, just being like, hey, you're going here.
You're going. It's that one's an interesting one to me that, yes, we'll discuss on another pod, but I think, listen, that has got to be because the field in these fall events, obviously not as strong as like a regular tour event. So there's so much on the line for these guys. Of course, you're playing for that next 10 status. Of course, you're playing to get into the Century. But I mean, the Masters, I got to assume for every guy in the field, that's the most important prize of all.
That is 1,000%. And it's just another big event to give yourself an opportunity to make some big time dollars, but also, it is considered it's not a signature event, right? But it's got all the points for it. So it's just another week where you can go out and earn some points. But yeah, man, like you said it all great. I mean, it was such a great interview. His stories were fantastic, as well as Patton. So I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy this episode.
I think so too. Hope you did. And we've got some fun stuff coming up. So next week, of course, we're flipping over to President's Cup week, and we have a ton of content for you that week. A couple of different preview episodes. And then as we do for all major events, you'll get journal entries every single night recapping the day of play. Smylie will be there in Montreal, covering it for NBC and Golf Channel. So looking forward to that. Tomorrow, you're headed to Tobacco Road in Sanford, North Carolina, to get back on the course and shoot some on-course content. A place that I love, it's near and dear to my heart. That place is super cool. Look, Walker's fired up about it right now. He's wanting me to go away from the microphone. But how are we feeling, Smylie? I know state of your game is coming off the Pro-Am at Troubadour. You're feeling pretty good. I've been hitting it pretty good heading into this member guest. So we might post a little number tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what? I feel really confident about my good ones being really good. And that to me always gives me I think like yesterday I played and I was able to make corrections on the golf course, and I had typically when I start hitting the heel, I haven't been able to make corrections. So to start the round hitting it really well, go through the middle of the round where you're just hitting the heel, and then I was able to figure it out, and I haven't been able to make that adjustment. So that to me was a step in the right direction. So I feel confident about that. I do feel really confident that I'm a skull one across the green pitching. I don't know what's going on right now, but I just kind of have a case of the yayas. It's funny. It's either really, really good, my pitching, or like all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm like, what just happened? So there's a bit of like, I don't know if it's ball position or setup. I'm going to have to send a video to my short game coach, James Siekman, to see where I'm at going into the week.
Get him right. Also, not sure what the turf conditions are going to be. Got a lot of rain the past 24 to 48 here in North Carolina. Okay. So I'm hoping it dries out.
That's fine. Honestly, we'll play with Queen of Place. Even better.
That's right. That just like we did, it's fine. And I'm thinking, we've been workshopping this, but I'm thinking format is just like we played at Spy, true little Pro-Am action where it's I get some shots, you're playing straight up, and we're just going to see what net best ball score we can shoot.
Yeah, either that or an individual match where I just give you strokes and we play a match against each other. One of the two.
Well, I think you're cutting me 8. We're playing a match, so we're playing a Ripper Tees rated 72.5. This place is I'm most excited just to see you reacting to this place.
I can't wait.
It's wild. It's like playing golf on Mars. So I think it's going to be super cool on YouTube. That, of course, we're going to have some back end edit time as we did at Spyglass Hill. So stay patient with us there, but just make sure you subscribe to the YouTube because that's going to be dropping in October, and we're thrilled about that. So picking up Jax at the airport at 4:20 today. We're going to maybe go to Apex and hit the Culvers. That's all we got, man.
Good stuff, man.
I'll see you in Sanford, brother.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, man. Excited to play some golf, check out Tobacco Road, and here before we know it, President's Cup week's going to be here. And I tell you what, when a lot of people turn the TV on for that, they're going to be really excited for match play golf. And I think when I get up to Montreal, I'm going to feel the same way.
I can't wait. We're excited for that. Walker he's so excited. He's really anxious. He's trying to rip the cord out of my mic. So I think that means this episode's over. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And we'll talk to you right back here again very soon.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our lovely fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too. So please keep it up.
For all the good people of YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the